El Chapo, once the richest and most feared man in all of Mexico. He controlled the Sinaloa Cartel, a multi-billion-dollar drug ring with an iron fist. But today, all that is in the past. El Chapo is now locked in a small cell in the most brutal prison in the United States, ADX Florence, a place said to be worse than death itself. 2,230 days. That's how long he's been there. No one has ever managed to escape from this prison. Many people wonder, how is a cartel kingpin like El Chapo treated there? How are the guards treating him? The answer finally emerged in several letters he sent to his lawyer. In them, El Chapo wrote that he was tortured 24 hours a day. He claimed to have had constant headaches, never seen sunlight, never breathed fresh air since he was first sent to America. He said he never slept soundly, not even once. But the most terrifying thing wasn't that. Behind bars at ADX Florence, El Chapo received special treatment. Not because of his honor, but because of his past, because of his money, because of his power and his history of escape. And that's what turned his life in prison into a never-ending torture. Joaquín El Chapo, a name that has rocked the world since the 1990s. He wasn't just any ordinary drug lord. El Chapo was a billionaire, the second richest man in the cartel world after Pablo Escobar. Along with his partner, Ismael El Zambada, he built the Sinaloa Cartel, a drug empire that spanned all of Mexico and even major cities in the United States. In a short time, this cartel was generating over $3 billion annually. But that wealth and power also made El Chapo a top target for the government. And when he was finally caught, the one thing America feared most was El Chapo's ability to escape. Because yes, he already did. Twice. The first escape occurred on January 19, 2001. At the time, El Chapo was being held in Puente Grande prison, the most secure prison in all of Mexico. But the prison wasn't safe enough for someone like El Chapo. With his money and influence, he bribed the guards and even recruited other inmates to help him. Then one night, El Chapo was smuggled out of his cell, hiding in a laundry cart. As soon as he left the prison gates, a car was waiting for him. And within hours, El Chapo disappeared into the mountains, leaving a deep shame for the Mexican government. But 13 years later, fate brought him back. Mexican Marines, with intelligence assistance from the US DEA, tracked him to a luxury hotel. 65 heavily armed Marines stormed the building and captured him. El Chapo was sent to Altiplano prison, Mexico's most secure, maximum security prison. But history, it turns out, loves to repeat itself. On the night of July 11, 2015, security cameras showed El Chapo pacing in his cell. Then he stopped, squatting behind the shower area. 25 minutes later, he was gone. The prison guards ran to El Chapo's cell. As they entered, the sight before them stunned everyone. In the shower area, there was a large hole in the floor, leading to a giant tunnel. The tunnel stretched for a mile, leading to a building built specifically for this escape. It was no ordinary tunnel. Inside, it had lighting, an air ventilation system, even a small rail along which El Chapo escaped on a modified motorcycle. It was just the right height, just enough for El Chapo to sit and ride without having to duck. This escape was absolutely perfect. Of course, he didn't do it alone. El Chapo clearly had help from within. The prison security footage clearly shows the sounds of drilling and underground construction, but none of the guards reported it. Why? Because they'd been paid or threatened into silence. At this point, El Chapo was no longer just a fugitive. He was a living legend, worth over $12 billion and seemingly untouchable. But all that changed on January 8, 2016.
After months of investigation, 17 elite Mexican Special Forces officers raided El Chapo's safe house. Neighborhoods had long been suspicious. Many strange men were coming and going. When the house was bugged, the troops heard a strange code, "Grandma's here," and they knew Grandma was El Chapo. As soon as El Chapo arrived, the troops moved quickly. Within seconds, a firefight broke out. But in his trademark style, El Chapo disappeared through a secret tunnel under a bathtub. He crawled through a sewer, emerged onto a highway, and stole a civilian's car. A massive manhunt began. 12 miles from the crime scene, El Chapo was finally found. And there, he tried one last trick. He looked at the Marines and said, "I can give you money or a house." But when they refused, his tone changed. "If you don't let me go, you'll all die." The threat meant nothing. El Chapo was captured, and this time there was no escape, because within hours he was flown to the United States. His worst nightmare had finally come true. As soon as the plane carrying him landed in America, El Chapo's face spoke louder than 1,000 words. For the first time, fear was visible in his eyes. The man who once controlled all of Mexico now stood helpless on land he could not control. There was no escape, no tunnels, no guards he could bribe. The court sentenced him to life in prison plus 30 years. It was as if, even if he could live twice, there would still be no chance of freedom.
July 19th, 2019. El Chapo was sent to what has been called America's version of hell, ADX Florence, Colorado. The most restrictive, brutal, and isolated prison in the United States. This is where the country houses its worst monsters, the world's most dangerous murderers, terrorists, and criminals. 2-meter-thick concrete walls, cameras at every corner, and a security system impossible to even imagine. El Chapo is now just one of 357 inmates deemed too dangerous to be held in a regular prison. In a recent letter, he wrote that life there is worse than death. Every day, he spends 23 hours alone in his cell, without sunlight, without sound, without anyone. He is only allowed out for 1 hour a day, walking in circles in a small concrete room, still handcuffed, still under surveillance. That is El Chapo's life now. From a billion-dollar empire to a cell the size of a bathroom. From the most feared man in the world to someone who couldn't even see the sky. And that's where he would spend the rest of his life. In silence, in a hell of his own making. As a billionaire, El Chapo used to live surrounded by luxury, the finest food, private chefs, and endless parties. But at ADX Florence, all that was gone. Here, food wasn't for enjoyment, it was for survival. Breakfast, a glass of milk, a slice of bread, and powdered eggs. Lunch and dinner, processed meat, beans, and rice, prepared in bulk, then delivered to his cell through a small gap in the fixed steel door. There was no cafeteria, no special meals, and,
Most ironically, El Chapo's money meant nothing behind these bars. So what was his cell like? Imagine a cramped room measuring 7 feet by 12 feet, only slightly larger than a coffin. Inside was a concrete bed, a concrete table, and a concrete bench. In the corner, there's a stainless steel sink and toilet designed to flush only once, so that prisoners can't drown themselves. There's also a small automatic shower that only runs for a few minutes at a time. And the only window? Just 4 inches wide, 42 inches high, angled toward the sky. No view, no sunlight. The window is even designed so that prisoners don't know which part of the prison they're in. This means El Chapo has no idea where he is. No sense of direction, no sense of position. It's impossible to plan an escape because he doesn't even know where to start. And even if he did get out of his cell, he wouldn't get far. Throughout the complex, there are pressure sensors in the floor, motion detectors, and cameras in every corner. More than 1,400 steel doors are remotely controlled.
His every move was watched. His every movement was recorded, and his every breath was monitored 24 hours a day. This is where El Chapo lives now, no longer a king, but the most monitored prisoner in the world. ADX Florence is no ordinary prison. Inside there is something known as the red button. If a guard presses it, the entire prison goes into lockdown in seconds. Every door closes automatically, every corridor is blocked, and no one can move. Outside, 2 layers of 12-foot-high barbed wire fences surround the complex. In the watchtowers, armed guards are ready to shoot on sight anyone who tries to escape. ADX has 6 levels of security, and El Chapo is housed in the most stringent, Unit H. This unit is designed to remove one thing from human life: interaction. No family visits, no conversation, no noise. The cells are soundproof. The inmates cannot speak to each other. Even if they scream at the top of their lungs, no one can hear. Sometimes at night, guards would bang on El Chapo's cell door just to make sure he didn't oversleep. Imagine living for years without a single meaningful conversation. That's what a prison within a prison is. And one thing was certain: there was no escaping from here. The only way out of ADX was if someone were transferred to a lower security prison. But that almost never happened, because at ADX there was one unwritten rule: once you're in, you never get out. But perhaps El Chapo wouldn't be alone for long. His old associate, Ismael El Mayo Zambada, was now also in American custody. On August 18, 2025, El Mayo finally pleaded guilty, and almost certainly, he too would be sent to ADX Florence, albeit in a different unit. 2 great kingpins of the Sinaloa Cartel, 2 legends of Mexican crime, finally ended up in the same place. But the irony, they would never see each other, never speak, perhaps even never know that they were separated by only a few concrete walls. The Mexican government now demanded El Mayo's return, calling his capture an illegal kidnapping and accusing El Chapo's own son of involvement. But in the end, none of that mattered, because for 2 men once considered untouchable, time was finally running out, and this time, there would be no escape.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed true stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so more people know that even kings can't escape their destiny.